for us to reaffirm our commitment to skilling up the necessary investments in skills that will help young people secure decent jobs, not just any kind of jobs, but decent jobs that will also help them thrive in their career paths. We'll be addressing the challenges and we'll be exploring very innovative solutions for the advancement of digital and AI skills for young people. So for the next 85 minutes that we have, we're going to have a very exciting, I promise you to be excited, an exciting conversation broken into three parts. We would listen to the partners, we will have a panel conversation, and then we'll have engagement and interactive conversation, all within 85 minutes. I don't have my gavel here, so somebody will have to get me a gavel. If not, I'll use this as my gavel. We're going to keep to time. Having said that, it's my privilege and my honor to invite the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, to deliver his statement through the ASG for Youth Affairs. My friend, you have the floor.
It's younger today. Thank you. And good morning to everyone. I don't know how to speak Portuguese fluently. That's also a big complexity. But I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you, Cynthia, for hosting all of us on this very special day. And as we begin with this important conversation, allow me to read the message from the So from now on, it's these words. I'm pleased to send my warm greetings to all of those gathered to mark World Youth Skills Day. My thanks to the permanent missions of Portugal and Sri Lanka for organizing this event along with UN colleagues. Your consistent focus on youth skills is a powerful testament to your belief in young people as drivers of progress and innovation. On World Youth Skills Day, we recognize that skills, not just tools, they are engines of empowerment and opportunity. From traditional knowledge to creative arts to community leadership, a diverse range of skills enable young people to shape their futures and to build more inclusive, peaceful, and sustainable societies. This year's theme rightly highlights the growing importance of digital and AI skills. From basic digital literacy to advanced data science, these capabilities are ever more vital for young people to thrive in today's world and lead in tomorrow's. But opportunity must be universal. We must close the digital divide so that every young person, regardless of gender, geography, or background, can reach their full potential. Digital education must be human-centered, nurturing not only technical ability, but also creativity, critical thinking, and compassion. And as artificial intelligence reshapes our world, young people must be seen not just as learners, but as co-creators of a fairer digital future. Let's do our part to equip every young person with the skills for the digital age. And once again, thank you for shining a spotlight on this important issue and best wishes for a successful event. With this, I will pass the floor back to Cynthia. Thank you.
Thank the Secretary General for the statement, and thank you, ASG, for delivering it on his behalf. We've taken close note of the call to close the digital divide. Also, the recognition that young people are not just recipients, they are co-creators. And we'll be listening to young people share with us during the course of this conversation how they are practically doing this. Thank you so much again. Without further ado, it's my privilege and my pleasure to give the floor to the permanent representative of Portugal to the United Nations, Ambassador Rui Vinhas, to deliver his remarks. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning.
to everybody. Thank you very much, Cynthia, for the initiative and for having us with you this morning. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. Also, thank you to the important remarks made by, I don't know if I can call you Philip Gutierrez. End of the mix. But thank you very much. So let me start thanking also the other organizers of this important event. And I'll make very short remarks to allow them time to the debate, which is the most important part. Well, since 2014, Portugal, Sri Lanka, Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, UNESCO, and ILO, and more recently the UN Youth Office, have been joining efforts to commemorate this World Youth Skills Day. Portugal's commitment to youth agenda needs no introduction. I think you will recognize that we have been very active in this area, recognizing the crucial importance of skills development for youth. Portugal has demonstrated a steadfast commitment to preparing its young citizens for success in the 21st century. The Portuguese government has recognized that digital literacy and IA education are no longer optional. They are essential through programs like InCode 2030. We are actively working to improve digital skills across all age groups, with a strong focus on preparing our youth for jobs and challenges of tomorrow. Actually, this is not tomorrow, it's today. Our schools and universities are integrating AI, robotics, and coding in their curricula. We are collaborating with tech companies and European partners to bring cutting-edge technology into classrooms. But beyond technical knowledge, we are fostering critical thinking in AI and civic responsibility, because true empowerment comes not just from knowing how to use tools, but understanding when and why to use them for common good. Let us, digital and AI skills empower young people not just to succeed professionally, but to lead societal transformation. In Portugal, we are witnessing inspiring examples of youth using technology to tackle climate change, support public health, combat misinformation, and preserve our cultural heritage. Startups founded by young Portuguese innovators are using AI to improve agriculture, renewable energy, education, accessibility, and even mental health services. These are not just business. Youth consider them as missions. I'd like to underline this point. We must continue to support our young change makers, not only with funding and training, but with trust. Let us dismantle barriers and build ecosystems where creativity thrives and where every young person has a seat at the table. Portugal is very proud to be part of the European Union's broader digital and green transitions. As we shape ethical AI frameworks and invest in next generation infrastructure, we are committed to ensuring that no youth is left behind, regardless of background, gender, or geography. Let us also remember that digital empowerment is not just a national goal, but a global one. Portugal is building bridges with Portuguese-speaking countries and beyond to share digital knowledge and support youth innovation networks across continents. We believe in youth, we are investing in youth, and we are walking alongside youth as they code, create, and campaign for a more inclusive, sustainable, intelligent world. Muito obrigado. It's the Portuguese word to thank you. And happy World Youth Skills Day to everyone.
That's what we would say. Yeah. Thank you so very much, Ambassador, for those very, very important issues that you've put on the table, not just in terms of the critical nature of what we're discussing today, but also what you've done tangibly. Digital skills, not an option. There's a focus on young people as drivers of transformation through a mission-oriented focus, not through business. The young change makers, there's so many, and that no youth should be left behind. There's that consistency between the message of the SG and what you have shared with us. Thank you so very much. Mr. Ambassador. Now I'd like to move very quickly from Portugal to Sri Lanka. And I'd love to invite the Chargé d'Affaires of Sri Lanka to the United Nations, Mr. Chakra Pereira. Mr. Pereira, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Cynthia Samuel, ILO representative to the UN. Very good morning to all of you. Excellency Ruivinhas, Ambassador, representative of Portugal, Mr. Elliot Minchenberg, UNESCO representative to the United Nations in New York, Mr. Shantin Lee, Director of the ILO Employment, Job Creation and Livelihoods Department, representative from the UN Youth Office, colleagues and younglings. At the outset, Sri Lanka extends sincere appreciation to the ILO for graciously hosting this year's observance of World Youth Skills Day. We also thank the United Nations Youth Office and UNESCO for their continued enthusiasm and commitment to advancing the vital agenda. This year marks the 10th anniversary of World Youth Skills Day, an initiative that Sri Lanka was proud to take in 2014. In the first observance in 2015, Sri Lanka and Portugal have worked together to champion this platform. I believe, Excellency, that our countries found common ground in the conviction that empowering young people through skills development is essential to achieving sustainable, inclusive, and peaceful societies. That conviction still holds strong even today. As the digital age transforms every facet of our lives, access to digital and AI tools and developing competencies and skills in their use is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity. They have become critical not only for employment, but also for civic participation, mental well-being, and innovation. In Sri Lanka, we are aligning our development priorities with this vision. We are implementing a comprehensive national research and development policy, guided by two newly established national institutions that will coordinate work across 7 strategic thematic areas. Our focus is on creating a dynamic ecosystem that supports student-led research, leverages diaspora collaboration, and promotes transparent ethical innovation. We are also moving decisively towards a high-value, knowledge-based economy with investments in biotechnology, nanotechnology, and sustainable manufacturing, industries that will generate new opportunities for our youth in emerging global markets. At the same time, we must build not only technical skills, but also human capacities. That is, critical thinking, problem solving, and social-emotional intelligence to ensure technology remains human-centered and inclusive. And we must close the digital divide, protect personal data, and foster digital ecosystems rooted in ethics, equity, and dignity. As we mark 10 years of this day, Sri Lanka reaffirms its deep commitment to this cause. I look forward to hearing from our eminent panelists in the coming session. I thank you.
So very much, Mr. Pereira, for those valuable insights and what is happening in Sri Lanka that you've shared with us, the ecosystem to support this engagement, of course. And it builds, interestingly, on what was said concerning Portugal in terms of the ethical dimension, in terms of critical thinking, problem solving. But I love the way you couch those three, focusing on ethics, equity, and dignity. Thank you so very much. It's now my pleasure to invite my neighbor and our key partner, the Special Representative of UNESCO to the United Nations, Mr. Elliot Minchenberg, to give his remarks. Elliot, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you and to see you all here today. Excellencies, distinguished speakers and guests, let me start maybe just by joining previous speakers and on behalf of UNESCO to wish you all a happy World Youth Skills Day. For over a decade, we've been celebrating at the UN on this day the energy, the talent, and the determination of young people around the globe. Portugal and Sri Lanka and our sister agency, ILO, have been our dear partners for the organization of this event, and I want to start by thanking them specifically for their great partnership and support over the years. This year, we shine a spotlight on one of the most transformative forces of our time, youth empowerment through AI and digital skills. These are not just tools. They are the keys young people have to shape the future of work, economy, and society itself. Today, we stand at the threshold of a new technological era, as we all know. Artificial intelligence and other rapid technological advances, including neurosciences, neurotechnologies, are reshaping every aspect of our lives. It is redefining the skills we need, the jobs we do, and the way we interact with the world. Yet, this transformation is not without challenges, as we know. The demand for digital and AI skills is growing at an unprecedented pace, and our education and training systems are struggling to keep up. Technical and vocational and education training (TVET) systems are at a crossroads. According to the World Bank, over 1 billion jobs are expected to change significantly in the next decade. New roles are emerging rapidly: AI specialists, green technologies technicians, and more. But formal education and training systems are often too slow to respond. Curricula are typically updated on multi-year cycles, while employers need to evolve in real time. Without systemic reforms and targeted investments, the digital divide may deepen, exacerbating existing inequalities and leaving marginalized youth even further behind. This is why, building on its holistic mandate, UNESCO has spearheaded the development of various tools, a few of which I would like to highlight today and share with you. In 2021, UNESCO led the way by adopting a recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence. It is the first global instrument of its kind adopted by all the member states of the United Nations to guide the use of new technologies through the application of principles of inclusion, equity, quality, and accessibility. In the field of education, the organization has published the first ever guidance for generative AI in education and 2 AI competency frameworks guiding countries in supporting students and teachers to understand the potential and risks of AI so that they can engage with it in a safe, ethical, and responsible manner in education and beyond. Those are very practical tools that UNESCO has published. We are using them with teachers, with students in order to address these challenges and also benefit from the advantages and of these new technologies. Through the Global Skills Academy launched in 2020, UNESCO is working with strategic partners to equip 10 million learners with the necessary digital skills by 2030. As of 2024, the Academy has reached already 1.9 million learners, offering training tailored to local needs for skilling, upskilling, and reskilling. Let us remember, skills are not just about employment. They are about empowerment. They are about giving young people the tools to innovate, to lead, and to build a more inclusive and sustainable future. As we celebrate the World Youth Skills Day, let us commit to investing in the potential of every young person. Let us ensure that no one is left behind in this digital age. Thank you very much. And again, happy World Youth Skills Day.
Thank you very much, Elliot, for that. So many things to unpack. The key that the focus is to catch up, that the education system will to catch up with this lightning speed of changes in technology. And thank you for sharing with us the tools that UNESCO has as a contribution to addressing. So it's really wonderful working with UNESCO. with the UN Youth Office, with Portugal, with Sri Lanka. I'm just the moderator. Now I'm going to invite the ILO to make its own intervention. And it's my pleasure to invite my colleague and friend, Lee Sang-Hon Lee, to lead up his remarks. Sang-Hon, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. After this whole great speech, I know there is not much left for me, but I'm trying to my best to strengthen some of the messages. Excellencies, colleagues and friends, and happy World Youth Skills Day. Each year, this day reminds us why skill matters. But this year, as we spotlight digital and AI skills, we are also facing a pivotal moment. As Secretary General actually has indicated, technological change is accelerating faster than our policies and our protection, and sometimes our own imagination. So what we do now, we help shape the future of the millions of young people navigating a world of new opportunities, but also equally importantly, growing uncertainty. As the ambassador has said, digitalization has moved from the margins to the mainstream. It now touched nearly every part of the global labor market, whether it's a delivery rider using apps, or remote coders working across borders, or the content creator building online library. All these digital tools are reshaping not just how we work, but also how work itself is organized. But digital transformation will not fulfill its promises on its own. We must make sure that young people are equipped with skills that are relevant, transferable, and recognized by employers. And we must strengthen our training system to support a fair and smooth transition into employment. Without these two pillars, meaning relevance and recognition, we risk leaving many behind. As our UNESCO colleague said, one of the key challenges today is the growing disconnect between skills young people acquire and what employers understand. Even as digital skills improve, young people still struggle to convey their capabilities. At the same time, employers often can't make sense of what micro-credentials and certificate really mean. The explosion of, as you know, the online courses have produced a flood of the credentials, which are not standardized, comparable, or easily verified. This leaves learners and employers in a frustrating mismatch of the potential and uncertainty. To fix this, we need more than skills. We need better systems. Credentialing must be transparent and stackable so that the learning can translate clearly into career progress and job opportunities. We must also consider how we use artificial intelligence. When actually guided responsibly, AI can greatly improve how we train and evaluate. It helps institutions focus skill needs, develop competency standards, personalized training, and match actually graduate to jobs and monitor outcomes. We already see this is already happening, as actually Ambassador already explained from the Portugal and Sri Lanka. In the case of ILO in China, we are working with the Microsoft, helping train Tibet teachers to build AI skills, reaching about 50,000 students. In Colombia, our new platform system enables instructors to quickly generate curriculums aligned with national standards. And also through our long-running partnership with ITU, we have supported over 23 million young people in developing digital competencies with a more ambitious goal of reaching 25 million by 2030. But once again, as the ambassador said, we must move forward with caution. AI system can mislead, hallucinate, and also reproduce bias. That's why we advocate a human in command approach, where AI supports, of course, but never replace human judgment. We must continue investing in critical thinking, digital safety, and ethical awareness to ensure AI is used for inclusion and equity, not division or harm. At the same time, we must remember skills alone are not enough. Even the most digitally fluent young person cannot thrive without decent job opportunities and an enabling environment. That's why we need pro-employment policies, stronger protections for platform workers, and greater investment in digital infrastructure, especially in communities where digital divide still runs deep. So as we mark the World Youth Skills Day today, let us commit to using digital AI skills, not just to innovate, but to uplift. Let us work to ensure that every young person everywhere has a fair shot to learn and to work and to shape the world around them. Thank you.
So very much thank you for the key issues you've put on the table. And it's really great to see the coherence and consistency in all the messages that we've received. The skills mismatch, what the needs of the labor market vis-a-vis what we're producing from our training and educational. But the issue of relevance and recognition, very, very crucial. The collaboration with the private sector, including Microsoft. Human in command, not machine in command. Key. Critical thinking, again, coming up and up again. Ethical issues, again, coming up again. The digital safety, the issues around skills not just being enough, it's crucial, but we need other things like the employment policies. Macroeconomic employment policies, they have to be, all our policies have to be employment promoting, employment enhancing, and not just the quantity. I always talk about this. It has to be good quality jobs, not poverty inducing jobs, but decent jobs and better protection. There's so much that we've had from our amazing, amazing partners. Do you think they deserve a strong round of applause? So much for agreeing with me, because they've done an excellent job in setting the stage. So we finished part 1 and we kept to time. Now we're going to part 2. And there are 4 excellent panelists. Before they even talk, please, let's give them a round of applause. We're giving them the round of applause because they will keep to time. No pressure. Yeah. We have 2 of them who are here with us in person, and we have 2 of our panelists who have joined us virtually. I'll introduce them as I invite them to take the floor. Just to note, you have 4 minutes. Since I don't have the gavel, this will be my gavel. So once this goes up, please round up. Okay? And those of you who are connecting virtually, don't pretend that you don't see my bottle, yeah, which is my gavel for the moment. So I'll start with Ms. Audrey Norris, who is here with us in person. Audrey is the Skills USA National Gold Medalist in 2022. And Ms. Norris, drawing from your experience, how critical is digital literacy? And how can young people be empowered to engage with AI in ways that are both effective and ethically responsible? You have 4 minutes.
Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished guests, and everyone here, that is a very tough question. So I would like to start with a question of my own, one that I've been asked dozens of times, one that has echoed through headlines and within my own family ever since my freshman year of college. Is AI going to replace your job? As a student in the GIMP program, an interactive applications development degree, and a proud member of Skills USA, the #1 workforce development organization in the United States, an organization that has pushed me not just to grow as a creator, but as a leader. This question is especially daunting. I work at the intersection of technology, creativity, and communication. And like many in my generation, this has been such a challenge to understand where it will fit into my future. Of course, many of us have been experimenting with AI, wanting to see if it's better. And we've learned some things. Many students have started using it to streamline their processes in school. Some even rely on it to do the entirety of their homework. That might make sense, right? AI is a lot like a calculator. It can automate something that would normally take a lot of time and effort to complete. A shortcut with a well-phrased prompt. But what happens when that shortcut becomes your default? When you don't just turn to AI for occasionally, but for every question, every assignment, every challenge, you stop learning. AI is not truly a calculator. A calculator helps you solve a question that you already understand, but AI can answer the entire question for you. The moment that you start using it to avoid grappling with the hard stuff, you're not saving time. You're choosing not to learn. And that has a cost. Foundational skills sacrificed for convenience. It's not just your grades anymore. It's your confidence, your skills, and your ability to problem solve. That's why learning how and when to use AI is a responsibility, because in the end, it's your growth on the line. And this is where empowerment becomes essential. As I was reflecting on my own experiences with AI, I came across a New York Times article, special issue, on the very topic. Like many articles, it opened with the familiar question: will AI replace your job? But what stood out wasn't the headline. It's what the author chose to do. He confesses that he tried to write the entire piece using AI. It would have been faster, easier. But in the end, he couldn't bring himself to do it. Why? Because he realized something important. He wasn't hired just to produce words. He was hired to understand the meaning behind them, for the outcome, not just the task. My generation bears a similar responsibility when it comes to handling AI. How to use it, when to use it, and when to resist it. Education is the perfect first place to learn this, as it is oftentimes the first place we are held accountable for the outcome of our actions and not just the effort. Digital literacy is especially important in this, as our ability to evaluate, understand, and communicate information, especially the information generated by artificial intelligence, will become more important as it becomes embedded in our daily lives and future workplaces. UNESCO recently published recommendations on the ethics of artificial intelligence. I believe their education policy is especially relevant, emphasizing not just technical skills, but learning how to learn critical thinking and ethical awareness. As jobs evolve, shift, and might even be replaced due to a response to artificial intelligence, these core skills will help students not just adapt, but thrive in their future workplaces. My own program has been reflecting this similarly, these questions becoming more common every day. In my degree, we often look at new tools and experiment with them, including artificial intelligence. But we don't just look at what they do, but the implications behind using them. Oftentimes, when we build projects, we're not looking just at what we're building, but why we're building it and the responsibility that entails. As I look to my senior year of college, as I will be graduating this spring, I often reflect on this question: is AI going to take my job? I've come to believe the answer is no, not if we adapt. As we come into this future, education, as well as our programs and the way that we reply with it and are responsible with it, will become ever more critical. As long as we adapt and understand that AI is not a substitute, but a supplement to our learning and our continued growth. And educational institutions provide the platform for education in critical thinking, adaptation, and ethical awareness. my generation will be ready for anything. Thank you.
So enthralled that I forgot to look at the time. I need a volunteer timekeeper, but excellent, excellent, Audrey. You've put so many important issues on the table. How and when to use technology and when not to use technology. Use AI. AI could actually destroy learning. The issues about critical thinking, problem solving, you put them all together in a very captivating manner, but also in a very practical manner. Thank you so very much, Audrey. We'll now move from Audrey to Lily Gray. Lily Gray is the Senior Liaison Officer at UNESCO, my neighbor. Given the rapid evolution of AI and digital technologies, how can we support young people to develop the right competencies and skills to thrive in the future? And what's UNESCO's approach to this? And you have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and happy Working Skills Day to everyone around the table here. It's a real pleasure for me to join the panel of young speakers, although I doubt how my youth qualification fit into the fact that I've been part of the organizing committee for this World Youth Skills Day for the last 10 years. And I'm mentioning it because it's a real connection to what Audrey was earlier mentioning. Believe me, over the past decade, the question whether AI will replace humans, particularly in the workforce, and to what extent it has been really integrated into the organization and celebration and of this World Youth Skills Day. I do recall one of the earlier World Youth Skills Days where we absolutely focus on it, mostly from the perspective of risks. And as we today focus certainly on the potential and of AI and digital skills as a very powerful tool to empower young people, we also hear many questions of concerns. Questions such as what skills will become obsolete, but also how do we bridge the digital divide and prevent exclusion? And let me tell you that nearly 10 years on, partners as UNESCO, UN, international community, we still can't predict with certainty which skills will endure and which skills will fade. For example, for many of us that grew up with paper books, with chalkboards, the pace of the change with the AI's rise into education, training, job application, it really feels overwhelming. And this uncertainty, we think, is very much compounded by the lack of absolutely conclusive evidence that generative AI tools such as ChatGPT can lead to really improved learning outcomes. And this is within the context that we are seeing of AI being more and more integrated into the education and training systems around the world. We know, for example, that in high-income countries, over 2/3 of secondary and tertiary students now use AI tools to support their studies. We know that teachers and educators are also turning to AI to personalize feedback and tailor their instructions. And what we heard from speakers before is that the growing skill gaps is driven by the rapid transformation of work, especially within the digital and the green transition that we experience. Indeed, the pace is unprecedented. And let me mention that what is expected is that by 2030, nearly 40% of core job skills will need to be updated or replaced. Yet what we're seeing that many countries around the globe still lack the tools to forecast these shifts or adapt their learning pathways accordingly. For us at UNESCO, we do sustain that foundational skills, and many of you mentioned this, like critical thinking, problem solving, communication, collaboration. These are more important than ever. They are resilient across context and time, and UNESCO does continue to promote these skills as the cornerstones of technical and vocational education and training, lifelong learning, and adaptability. I need also to mention one major challenge, which continues to be the underinvestment in lifelong learning. Most countries around the globe continue to allocate less than 0.5% of their GDP to adult education and learning, which is far below what is needed. And yet we see and we know and we anticipate that global skills gap, which can actually generate up to $6.5 trillion in economic gains by 2032. And what do we say? We say that in order to meet these challenges, we need more agile, inclusive, data-informed skills development systems. This means that we need better coordination between governments and employers. We need real-time labor market insights, but we also need greater investments in lifelong learning, aligned with individuals and society's true value. And my colleague, the representative of UNESCO, mentions UNESCO's main contributions and a number of tools that we've elaborated, notably the 2021 recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence, as well as the development of the AI framework competencies for students and teachers. These tools do support countries in designing inclusive policy and equipping learners and educators to engage with AI safely, ethically, and responsibly. And let me just briefly mention
fluency doesn't always translate into a job. So one thing that we do, or what we can do also, is that we need to fund and amplify local digital innovation. We need to treat digital access and infrastructure, and we need to co-create and amplify learning paths. So we cannot do this alone. We need government to invest in infrastructure. We need global organizations to localize solutions and not just scaling them. We need investors to fund African innovation without demanding for a certain passport. We know our problems, we build our solutions, but we need support. So back to that young people who was building an agri-tech, she didn't leave Uganda because she lacked ambition. She left because our system did not support her. But beliefs is a form of infrastructure, and that's something that all of us, governments, employers, global institutions, have the power to build. So if we talk about digital transformation, and it's supposed to be truly serve as young people, it's important not to just empower them. We also need to be rooted in dignity, equity, and also belonging. Thank you once again for this opportunity and to be a part of this conversation.
Okay, I hope you were able to really catch the strength of the applause that came from the room. Really important issues, especially infrastructure and the localization of solutions. You used a term that I had never heard before, the emotional labor that goes into being connected. So I'll use that. The gender and geographical exclusion and divide. So many issues that you've put on the table. And the very practical example of a young person who had to leave Uganda to go to Australia to be able to optimize the potential is quite telling. We now go to our last our panelists. And our last panelist is Mr. Charlie Gray. Mr. Charlie Gray is from TUC, the TUC General Council, occupying the youth seat. Charlie, it's great to have you with us virtually. And the question to you is, how can we ensure that digital and AI skills are harnessed to enhance human capabilities and outcomes rather than replace them? There's a connection with Audrey's initial intervention. How can we keep technology in service of the human being? Over to you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to join you all from Whitley Bay in the northeast of England. I think when it comes to AI, the first thing we have to identify is the issues that are already presenting themselves. Bias is something that we are already seeing being exacerbated in some places by AI. The TUC in Wales has recently commissioned a report around AI inequalities at work, and looked at the sectors in which it's already been deployed in, such as platform work, care work, and logistics, and looked at how, alongside how it's used in the workplace directly, but also in recruitment and hiring processes as well. AI is heavily, we know it's heavily shaped by the environment it's designed in. Nearly all of the big companies are based in Silicon Valley, and that workforce tends to be male, white, and non-disabled. What and how the information is collected is really important. AI technologies are relying on pattern recognition. So if the data reflects the structural and institutional inequalities, the decisions being made by AI can replicate these, reinforcing employment inequalities. Important thing that we our use of sarcasm, compassion, and our human judgment. These are things that cannot be replicated by AI, and it's important that we recognise the right for people to have a human review of decisions made by AI. So if there are decisions that are made, the companies that are making them and using AI don't get to wash their hands and say, oh, well, an AI has come out with this outcome, so it is perfect, there is no issue there, and actually ensuring that we have the ability to review. And for young workers, that presents a number of issues. If AI is being used at the early stages of careers to either vastly transform entry-level jobs or to remove them, that presents a real challenge. Because if we have that right to human review, we need people to have the understanding of the decisions that are being made, the data that are being used. And if you lose that ability at the start of your career to understand that information, to really get your hands into it and to gain that knowledge, once older members of the workforce leave, you have that lifelong knowledge and ability and have really honed their skills. If we lose that from the workforce, that de-skilling will not put out positive outcomes for people. And I think, as we said earlier, the threat that algorithmic systems may reduce space for learning, independent thinking, or decision making, and limiting those skills and progression in the future, I think, will have a massive impact on us all for the worst. What we need for young workers is a guarantee on skills and learning. Everybody to understand what the skills profile they need to have in their job is and how they need to develop that moving forward. Everyone my age was told to get into IT and coding. We were told that would be how we could guarantee good jobs for the future and a stable life. But actually, we're already seeing many of those jobs being already replaced by AI. And we need that help in reskilling and retraining and support from social security systems to allow people to get new jobs and to not be put onto the metaphoric scrap heap. And I think this is right, was identified, around AI skills being taught in schools. For somebody of my age, my IT education and skills at school are already out of date. And actually, I will need that help going forward to ensure that I am allowed to progress in the workplace and allowed to have the space to train, and I'm not just sort of removed because of my lack of the skills that are now so rapidly coming forward. And I think I'll finish on the point of we have to have ownership as well of the things we've already created. It's often been discussed that creatives, people who perform and who act, who sing, and who enrich our lives culturally, are the ones that are under threat from AI. And that is an important point to note. But for programmers and architects, researchers, and other people who are creating information, it's being already taken and stolen to teach models. There's no transparency, there's no compensation, and there's no idea on the impact on their livelihoods moving forward. These are all big things that have to be taken on to ensure that AI is done with us and not done to us. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you so very much, Charlie. You've added some things that I didn't hear from the previous post. I think I heard it. This issue of social protection to facilitate transitions. I think it was mentioned by Sangyan, quite important. But you talked about data, enforcing discrimination. And I like the way you framed it. The data is anchored on typically male, white, non-disabled. And that is now what guides or drives the information for a lot of these things. You also talked about the importance of effective training and engagement at the entry level and the ownership of the created products. There's so much that you put on the table. Can we give them a really great round of Ray, Lily, Sauda, and Charlie? Now we're getting to the third segment, and this is where you get to engage. And you have 10 minutes. Okay, we have slightly more than 10 minutes. But the quicker you put your hand up, the more the likelihood that you get to have the space. So I already see two very, very determined hands and one that is not quite so determined. So the two determined hands that I see are the two ladies here, neighbors, and the gentleman. There's another almost determined hand. Okay, there's the gentleman at the back and then the gentleman. Oh, there's a very determined, so we've got 5, right? And so you have 1 minute. Please introduce yourself, raise your issue.
So actually, how can I introduce myself? Because I have a lot of identities, because I'm a Muslim, I'm a South Asian, I'm a Bangladeshi, I'm a intersex.
You've taken 30
No. Just 1 minute, it's important. I'm Bangladeshi and also I'm an intersex woman. So a lot of identity, actually my humanity identity actually missing. So from the beginning, actually, I want to share this little bit perspective. It's important because if I don't share the perspective, actually, people don't understand. Or actually, I want a very specific question for ILO representative. So, in our country perspective, actually, intersex person are discrimination most of that, and even that they are discrimination by that. They are marginal among the LGBTIQ people. When they actually mention that, all of people say that, hey, there are no representation of the actually LGBTIQ people. Even that here also they don't mention that intersex identity. And we are feeling actually a little bit marginal when they actually that type of platform, they never mention that also our identity, our representation. So we are feeling very marginal like that. So actually, I'm actually when I was under 18, under 18, my family forcefully cut my surgery, forcefully cut my uterus and ovary. And after that, I actually open an organization. The organization is Bangladesh Intersex Forum. This is the first intersex lead organization in our country. And after that, we face a lot of difficulty. We face our life threat. And after that, I just came here country and like that. So here, all of people talking about their AI and that type of thing. For like that, I'm a refugee. So, and a lot of intersex people like in our country, and a lot of intersex people, they face their life threat and come this the country. So do you have any specific plan for their make life more easier, and how to actually make life easier, and how to actually have any plan for life skill development or that type of thing? Because in our country perspective, they never counted our community people. So they all take up the decision for the man and woman. And even the when you this the any United Nation program, they also mention LGBTIQ. Even that this is the only sex identity, intersex identity. They never mention that. So my earnest application that do you have any plan for our community who are actually in our country, who are actually in the migrants? So do you have any plan for that? So skill development, and how can their life is little bit improvement? Sorry, I'm a little bit rude because no one teach me actually how to behave. So yeah, so alive or that responsibility, they can take our responsibility or not.
Thank you very much. Why I insisted we take 1 minute is so that everybody gets the opportunity to intervene and then we get feedback. So I encourage, please keep to the 1 minute so that we'll all be able to hear and get the feedback. But the issue raised, and it's to you, Sandhya, the question. So over to you. 1 minute being 1 minute.
Hello. My name is Nagma Shrestha. I'm from Nepal, but right now I'm working as a UN representative for a nonprofit called Youth Students for Peace. My question goes like this. Many young people today are starting their careers in digital space as a content creator, influencers, or using AI-generated works. While these platforms offer immense opportunity, we're also seeing rising cases of online sexual harassment and exploitation, especially targeting youth. The speakers and panelists today mentioned the importance of digital safety and the need for stronger policies. So could you please share what specific frameworks or policies the ILO has in place to address sexual harassment and violence in digital and virtual workspaces? And would you also shed some light on how ILO Convention 190 is being implemented to protect young people, especially in these non-traditional and tech-enabled forms of work? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'll just take one. But I'll also add to what Nagma said. I'm Naveen Gautam, and I'm also representing the Global Forum of Communities Discriminated on Work and Dissent.
Sorry, can you speak a little louder?
I'm Naveen Gautam, and I'm representing Global Forum of Communities Discriminated on Work and Retail. I'm sure all of us might have heard about the whole caste-based system existing across South Asia and India, but that also extends to other areas, including Europe, Latin America, and Africa, where we have formed similar practices, and the youth are the most impacted from this thing. But the point is, because of the caste-based system, there have been systemic barriers in terms of education and livelihood, which has also pushed them back in terms of having access to the digital divide as well, which we are not talking about. We always talk about having phones and what are the issues which we are coming across digital divide in AI, but there is a whole set of population who doesn't even have access to these basic amenities and basic technology aspects. And there are almost 270 million people across the globe, and still there are few who are waiting to be acknowledged. So I just want to know whether ILO, or specifically, I would also request Felipe, if there is any specific policy or any planning for these specific communities which are facing this kind of systemic barrier across the globe. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
All protocols duly observed. I'll be quick. Thank you, the panelists. We can see in this room that the role of human and humanities is being reevaluated, and it calls for a stronger partnership for those in humanities and humans and those in artificial intelligence. So this will reduce the social and cultural bias, in terms of AI usage. But for the purpose of what use case they and addressing the digital divide that exists, as Sauda said before, so there should be access to digital skill education that goes beyond traditional education boot camps, public, private partnership with NGOs. For instance, if we have effective youth development, if we have stronger partnership, business can provide internships for the youth, and organizations like UNESCO and ILO can come in and support policy frameworks, and at the same time, NGOs can do the community outreach. So when you do this, I'm from the African region, most of my mates, for instance, they might not even know how to, carefully and ethically use AI without doing the garbage in, garbage out. But if you do these boot camps and get some industry certified credentials that are verifiable, they'll be able to upskill and maintain this whole, trend that is taking on our industries today. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And then.
Hi, my name is Durga. I'll keep this to a minute. I was born and raised in New York, and I've been a community organizer since I was 14. Worked for the Mayor's Office of Environmental Justice and now the Department of Youth and Community Development, and just got hired for Saran Mamdani's mayoral campaign. I'm lucky because this is in the public sector. However, many of my peers who have also graduated from top 20 schools in the United States are suffering and have been laid off or are unable to find a job. And the common denominator is most of them are people of color. So how can we remedy that situation? And what steps can we do to work with ILO, even if it's city-based? That's where my base is. How can I plug in and help get folks connected where they need to go and really strengthen our economic base here?
Thank you very, very much. Anyone who has one burning, this is the last. None? Great. So we're going to go to the panelists. We're also going to invite, thank you, your name was mentioned repeatedly, and Felipe, your name was also mentioned, but we'll start with the panelists, and I'll start with you, Audrey. 1 minute, you can answer any question.
I think that a lot of the topics raised are things that, quite frankly, are very hard for me and my background to answer. I think that there's a lot of challenges throughout the world based off of a lot of the different demographics that we have, capabilities to gain access to technology, and the experiences that we gain, especially with the speed that everything is moving at. So I think generally I would just say that because of the speed and the nature of how technology changes the infrastructure in our world, reassessing and reevaluating based on the personal skills and the skills that we have as humans that focus on human responsibility and what we can do with our unique perspectives as people will always be there and always be important.
Thank you so very much, Audrey. Now we'll fly to the United Kingdom. Charlie, over to you.
Thank you. I think the last question that was asked around redundancies and severance for those who have been working in sort of the tech field and in roles linked to the sector. I think my biggest advice for any young worker would be to join your trade union, or I think as you call them in the United States, labour unions. One of the biggest issues for young workers is a lack of trade union density, a lack of organising in the workplace, to hold employers accountable on issues like the data being used, how that data has been collated and created, and also around how they are impacted by that. And I think by having young workers' voices represented through collective structures in their trade unions, able to, when bosses bring forward policies and able to scrutinise those and to develop them in collaboration where possible, but also where needed to have those moments of critiquing criticism and also the ability to withdraw one's labour is incredibly important. So that would be my advice to any young worker who feels potentially threatened by what's going forward. And again, through that organisation, things like safety and the use of AI can be pushed for as well. If you work in a workplace such as maybe the nuclear industry or on the railroads, AI has massive potentials for your safety, and if you can push for that as a worker as well as these things we're talking around displacement of jobs and around impact on learning, education, and on work. There is a real, I think, moment for AI to enhance our safety and to take all of those millions of data points and to be able to examine them at breakneck speed. And that, I think, for young workers can be a massive benefit, as well as some of the risks there as well.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Then we'll go to, and Charlie is with the Trade Union Congress. We'll now go to Uganda and hear from Sauda, who is representing business. Sauda, you have the floor.
Absolutely, thank you so much. I think I will go deeper into the three solutions that I mentioned, which is number one, which is fund and amplify local digitalization. I think it's very important for employers to adapt quite early when it comes to solutions that are relevant to the market, especially in agriculture, tech, and logistic, and solutions that might not always be AI related, but they can help. This means that solution doesn't always come from labs. They can also come from women in markets that are using different technologies to track inventories. The second one I mentioned was to treat digital access as an infrastructure, because let's be honest, if you can't afford data, you are locked. And I think employers must treat internet, smartphone, and a safe workspace as an infrastructure. And it's important, especially for young people, interns, people that are starting their early career, that they get access to this. I think one gentleman talked about different programs, and I think also that's the learning pathway. I think businesses should work with TVET and learning platforms where to design micro courses on digital apprenticeships, which aligns with real market demand, where young people get to test and solve real business problems and find solutions that are equipped to the market and not just in theory. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sauda. Lily?
So many of you touch upon the issues of human rights, addressing discrimination, addressing sexual harassment online. I would say a few words. So first, really important, particularly in engaging with social media and online platforms, is the media information and digital literacy. And UNESCO engages with global partners all over the world to support the promotion and training in media information and digital literacy in order to ensure that young people are indeed equipped how to manage these challenges online. As far as the human rights and discrimination issues, online in global community has worked to evolve the international human rights standards. There are a number of conventions that are serviced by the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. On UNESCO side, we do have our major convention on against the discrimination in education. It's a convention adopted by UNESCO's member states in the 60s. It's up to be updated. There is a complaint mechanism, but indeed, member states that have ratified and engaged within that convention are committed to guard against discrimination in education and training. And last word, I wanted to respond to some of the questions related to the training opportunities. As mentioned by our representative, UNESCO indeed has engaged to leverage strategic partnership through the Global Skills Academy. It's a network of training platforms and centers it is shared through the UNESCO Unibox centers, and indeed many of those who would like to reach out to these centers could be connected to training platforms by UNESCO Unibox centers. So I'd like to invite you to platform for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Now those who were named. And I'm going to start with you, Sanya, and then go on to Felipe. And then you have 2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes, okay. There are lots of questions. Probably I may not get into all these specific details, but I just want to start to say, think about what happens in the previous wave of the digital revolution. Of course, there is a lot of positive development, but there are, as far as I'm concerned, I can see 2 main problems. One is the access to digital technologies. We have issue. The second is using technologies somehow to further worsening discrimination or reinforcing existing perceptions, understanding, or stereotype approaches. I don't think the global community has been very successful to manage technologies to promote anti-discrimination or the promoting equity. This is really important lesson to learn from the previous round of the technology. But now what's happening? I'm not quite sure at the moment because there are lots of conversation, discussion going on at the moment. But we have to see. The one of the a bit of the early, a bit of warning signal, as far as I can see, is that we still see very significant discrepancy where AI is needed, AI is most helpful, and where AI is actually being used. So there are lots of studies already indicated AI is being used and where the AI may not be necessarily needed. By contrast, we are overusing the AI for that, and at the same time, care work and others. There are lots of areas where the humanity can benefit from AI, but we can see much less use of the AI. So this is a bit issue of access. Second, we have a bit of concern about the AI's capacity to reproduce or reinforce existing discrimination. We have seen already, some of you already mentioned that. How can we address that issues? This points to issue of the algorithm management. It's the ethical issues. I think this is a bit of beyond the IRO itself. This is really issues the UN as a whole system needs to tackle. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. Another thing I want to mention very briefly is that the previous digital the revolution, at the core of the problem is the corporate power or the market structure. I don't need to explain what it is, but we seems to repeat itself. This is very much points to the issue of the how actually humanity can manage this actually governance of AI or this technology for the benefit of the whole human community, in which we can address some of the specific issues you mentioned. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. ILO is doing lots of things right now because, for example, we have a big project in Africa for refugees promoting digital skills. We call it prospects, so that's a good name, I guess. And also importantly, ILO is discussing how to govern the platform economy, including some elements of the issue I just mentioned. It's not easy, but we are trying our best to get something really significant out of that process for better management of the platform economy.
Our family actually don't want to take our responsibility. Our country also don't want to take our responsibility. Because in the UN, they also say that they have a limitation. So where we go?
So thank again, Sandra, for that. We'll now go to, now you're not representing it.
Oh, I was speaking on my behalf.
You're speaking on your behalf. So you have 90 seconds to address the issues that have been raised, and then I'll give you the floor for the closing remarks. Over to you, Felipe.
Thank you, Cynthia. I think it's almost impossible to address all the very sensible topics that were raised. But I'm glad that we have this space for people also to raise them. And I think that to reflect about what's the UN. I think the UN it's also about that. It's really about bringing governments together in global issues, assuming commitments, and it's also about having a platform that allows, especially those traditionally left behind to have an opportunity to raise awareness, to raise a voice, and hopefully we will continue to advance on the direction of supporting more and better those left behind. And Naveen, you made a specific question in relation to digital divide, and I think it's very important that you put this on the table. I believe that both UNESCO colleagues and ILO colleagues, when they were referring to initiatives, they have been implementing some of them also with other partners, such as the ITU, which is a part of the system specifically focused on this agenda of digital technologies. They were reflecting on initiatives that are impacting millions of people, and I'm sure most of them are young people across, especially developing countries. But I want also to share about one more initiative that the UN as a system is also implementing. Because the role of our office is really about convening the system when it's about delivering for and with young people. And that's why we have this structure that was established by the member states of the organization in terms of how we can accelerate this agenda together, And I think this agenda, this initiative that was not mentioned today, but it's a very big one that is bringing the UN together, and not only the UN, but it's bringing governments, it's bringing the private sector, and it's bringing young people together, is Generation Unlimited. Generation Unlimited, that is an initiative championed by UNICEF, for example, last year impacted almost 64 million young people in 37 countries, most of them developing countries, trying to address the digital divides and empowering young people with skills in terms of being more prepared to the job market. But I think my general reflection also trying to connect with other of the young people and participants that raise the voice today is that there's a lot of pressure over the UN constantly. The UN is not a supranational government, that can go ahead each member states on their sovereignty to do things. The UN is really a global platform to bring governments together. And that's why this organization was established in 1945. And after 80 years, I think we've made huge progress. We have common agendas that are trying to address, especially those that traditionally have been left behind. It's not a perfect platform, but I think it's in its imperfection. It's raised on its uniqueness and its origin. Bringing people together, bringing the different together. It's not about doing the perfect things. It's about doing the possible things. And I believe that that's how the agenda is moving and why the UN is moving forward.
Thank you very much, Felipe. There was a specific question on Convention 190, and how relevant it is for harassment within the context of the digital space. At the time C190 was adopted, we were not in the kind of space that we are now in terms of technology, but there's certain relevant dimensions. Lily talked about some of the work done within the auspices of UNESCO. Sanjan also talked about the ongoing work to have, I think it's going to be a convention supplemented by a recommendation within the platform economy, promoting this network. So if we look at the entire governance, including protection, and draw from those existing instruments like C190. So I just thought that was the only thing that I think was not addressed. I decided, let me come in. I ask you, please, let's give all those who have intervened let's give them a round of applause. for your engagement. Thank you for your questions. If you're not satisfied with the answers or if you disagree, as long as it's not violent, we will continue the conversation. We'll definitely continue the conversation. So I've tried to keep to time. Yes, I did. We have 2 minutes for the closing statement by Mr. Felipe.
Thank you, Cynthia. I will be very short then. And first of all, thank you, especially to the permanent missions of Sri Lanka and Portugal. This is a meeting that has been held for many years now, and it's great also that there's a tradition to really take some time during the agendas of everyone in this special location of the UN, which is its headquarters, where we have the General Assembly, the Security Council, most of the main bodies of the organizations where governments come together to take decisions about their global commitments. And I think it's great to put some spot and put some light on this specific agenda of skills for young people. Of course, UNESCO, ILO, big parts of the system that are doing a lot for many, many years, in this agenda, have a lot of commitments when it's about doing this with young people and not only for young people, and most especially in Portugal, Soya, and Charlie. It's great to hear from young people that are involved and that are changing things directly on their own. Maybe the final or my reflection here, and I want to emphasize, is the importance to recognize the connection between digital skills and mental health. I believe many of you put this on the table, and I think this is a crucial thing. It's very interlinked and to the agenda of human rights and protection and safety, especially for those coming from marginalized communities. And I think it's very critical that when we're addressing these topics, we need to, first of all, recognize that now the boundaries between online and offline activities are blurred. It's very difficult to put a limit there. And that's why, supporting young people, not only when it's about building technical proficiency, but also digital resilience, it's so crucial, because it's about our ability to thrive, it's about our ability to stay safe, and it's about our ability to feel the sense of belonging, both in offline but also in online spaces, and this means protecting digital identities. This means prioritizing well-being, and this means creating safe and affirming spaces where youth can express, young people can learn, and where young people can colleague. I know that today is not about having answers for everything, because I think that's impossible, and I think that's not also the role of the UN. The role of the UN is being that platform that brings us together when it's about common challenges. I think in today's discussion, I took note of some key challenges, and I hope that all of us are leaving this discussion with that in mind. And I think that then we all are going to go back to our area of influence, which is very different to each of us. But I'm sure that all of us, we know which is that square of influence where we can make a difference. And I hope that in that square of influence where we can make a difference, we bring these 4 challenges, or at least I want to share with them. The first one is the opportunity to recognize the digital divide, and the opportunity and the necessity that we have as part of this ecosystem when it's about moving on that. For some, it will be about advocacy. For some, it will be about technical support, expertise. For others, it will be about decision-making and implementation. The second is about the importance of keeping digital education human-centered. And many of you made specific reflections and suggestions, and also shared about initiatives that are doing that same issue. The third one is about protecting young people and protecting youth rights and identity, both online but also offline, for sure. And finally, I think it's about ethical dimension of AI, because, we need an AI system, and I think that's why last year countries came together, approved the Global Digital Compact, and commit themselves also to create this governance when it's about building systems that are delivering for people and not for us. So with that, thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, everyone. I wish you a nice rest of your day and happy youth skills day.
To take pictures, and I like to say we'll take it at the photo deck. It's a fancy way to say we'll take it out. But we'll take pictures, we'll take with the panelists, and then we'll take all of us together. So I invite everyone, and please let's thank Portugal and Sri Lanka, especially. So we'll go to the photo deck. Seriously, becoming minister.
Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on LinkedIn? What's the name of LinkedIn?
I mean, I know it's not. The picture is like digital. Yeah. I'm doing a lot of work. Yes. Oh, wait, you want to get it?
There's two more space. Okay. There we go. All right. 3, 2, 1. Can I give this to someone so I can be in there?
No worries.
Yes. That will be my secret.
It's not that way. Because you know I'm.